Oh, hello, Hockey World. Sorry about the delay today. My computer decided it was going to have throw a hissy fit this morning, and just decided, like the one down here in the studio, just completely decided it would not recognize my cameras or anything like that. So, not that you have to see this beautiful face every day at 1 o'clock, but I just thought I would try to get it ready. So apologize for the delay, but we're up and running now. And as I load my notes up, I think the fellas have something they wanted to discuss.
Go ahead, Russ.
No, you. I thought you had the lead on it, but this is the number 99.
Yeah.
Okay, so basically, we're gonna. Ty and I were talking on Twitter, and we were talking. We don't yell at each other, and he gives a different perspective because he's certainly younger, and he doesn't feel like Gretzky his number should be retired. He's like, well, if Orr's isn't retired, then Gretzky shouldn't be. And so I got into this conversation where, unfortunately, Wayne Gretzky is more popular than Bobby Orr to everybody else in the world. Bobby Orr has a certain following, and then that got into a conversation of, well, Orr was brought up in a different era, and I'm like, yeah, I get it, but you know what? Everybody knew Babe Ruth, everybody knew Gordie Howe. Not everybody knows Bobby Orr. It's just that is the way it is. But in getting into it further, I looked at the Sports Illustrated Sportsman of the Year award, because that used to be a big barometer in my neighborhood. Like, hey, if you were great, you ended up there. You know, my favorite guy, Tom Seaver, ended up there. But Gretzky and Orr ended up there once apiece.
Right.
And then the interesting thing is, they had one year they were given away for people that gave back to charity, and Bob Bourne got on there in 1986. And if we all thought that SI had a bias against hockey, we were all right, because they haven't won, given a cover, basically the Sportsman of the Year cover. They give their obligatory cover in the playoffs once in a while to hockey, but they haven't given that award to anybody in hockey since 1986.
Yeah, see, I'm a little bit on Ty's side here, because like I said yesterday, I understood the honoring.
You've got to recluse yourself there. I mean, you're not a Gretzky fan, so.
Well, let me finish, please.
Well, he can finish. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I could understand the honoring of Jackie Robinson's number 42 because of the significance of his entry into the game. I think it was 1948, and I completely wholeheartedly agreed with it. But Wayne Gretzky, and arguably, is one of the best players of all time. There's no doubt about that.
One of the best players.
One of the best.
So it's not arguable.
I think Bobby Orr could be. I personally think Bobby Orr is better than Wayne Gretzky.
Right, but it's not arguable that Wayne Gretzky is one of the best. You can say it's arguable he's the best player of all time, but it's not arguable that he's one of the best players of all time.
Okay, jeez.
Come on.
Well, okay. Anyway, but Bobby Orr's number is not retired. Wayne Gretzky's Gordie Howe, who Gretzky idolized, his number 9 is not retired. I think it's because 99 is a unique and significant number, and you can't retire number 4 and number 9 for every team. That's one of the reasons why. But honestly, Wayne Gretzky is held up on this pedestal. I mean, the guy didn't even have to be drafted because they crafted rules for the WHA to NHL merger to protect 2 players per each team. And Edmonton, of course, we've got to protect Wayne Gretzky. He can't go in the draft. Oh, my God, no way. I mean, ridiculous.
This whole thing is so preposterous.
Thanks.
Phil Esposito was number 77. There wasn't a real push to get him retired league-wide, and he was a great player. The other thing is, I just say it like this. Wayne Gretzky has records that will never be broken. He was an ambassador to the game that even went well beyond Gordie Howe, who did a lot for hockey, and Bobby Orr. Even if Wayne Gretzky didn't try, he did more for hockey than those guys just for being Wayne Gretzky. That's why this happened, because of his overall worth to the world and then what he gave to hockey. That's really what it is. People will be talking about Wayne Gretzky in the year 3022, and they'll be laughing at Mike Ogello. That's what they'll be doing.
And I'll be talking about Bobby Orr being a more impactful.
You'll be like a hologram, like on Star Wars, beaming out of like a BB-25, because it'll be like, that'll be what Star Wars is up to at that point. And your speech will come out, and people will laugh at you.
Oh man, Mike, you got nothing here. You got nothing on this one. I'm sorry.
Oh, you guys are clueless.
No, you have nothing when you cannot dismiss Gretzky out of hand like that.
I'm not dismissing him. I'm not.
You really are. You're making him like, he's slightly better than Matt Sundin, maybe. Like.
No, who's okay? I did not say that.
No, but
look, you can relate to this. I wouldn't want anybody else to wear number 4 in Boston. I wouldn't want anybody else to wear 66 in Pittsburgh. It bothered me when there were numbers in the Rangers.
Philadelphia or 16 in Philadelphia. These are obvious things. And
there are numbers that get worn before players get retired that bother all fans. I get it.
In the list of NHL immortals, up on Mount Olympus, my contention is that Wayne Gretzky is Poseidon. He's not Zeus. That's all I'm saying. He's amongst the immortals. He's not the immortal.
If he only scored 800 more points than anybody else, right?
He only had a 100-goal season.
Right.
If Bobby Orr hadn't cooked both knees and retired by age 20.
But he did. You can't keep going.
Gretzky still would have scored more goals.
But Bobby Orr's got the plus-minus record, which you find irrelevant. So
I will be the first to say that
didn't Charlie Huddy beat that one, Russ?
Yeah, he may have. I don't know.
The thing that's most distinctive or most important about Bobby Orr, in my mind, and just the fact that he made defense cool on one side and made defense like, okay, you can be, but actually he did teach the NHL how to skate. Okay.
Yes.
Bobby Orr changed skating as we know it.
He was unstoppable from the back end. He was.
I was talking to people about this. The technical way that you skated when you learned how to skate, or was like how you would learn how to figure skate or ice skate or whatever. And hockey skating is different. Bobby Orr introduced hockey skating to the world, and therefore you have all the players who skate like they skate now, and the game is so much faster. Bobby Orr with these skates, I can't imagine how good he would have been.
Oh my God.
But back then he's lugging around 50 extra pounds on each leg.
Or if he had the heated skates like Marty Reisner had.
Yeah, that was ridiculous. But I honestly feel like that that you cannot. I mean, I have no problem with Gretzky's number being retired around the league. I don't.
This is just revisionist history by younger fans who feel like they didn't have a vote in it and they didn't get to see Wayne Gretzky. So when you don't get to see a player, you did, Mike, so shut up for a minute.
I'm an older fan. I'm somebody who saw Wayne Gretzky break Esposito's goal record, and I'm telling you, I saw Gordie Howe play. I mean, maybe with the heart.
Right, I did too in the end.
Right, so I'm telling you, Wayne Gretzky's not the best player of all time.
Right.
Let's move on.
He's among the best players of all time, Mike.
He's one of them. He's not the.
Right, because most people would argue that.
Well, I mean, the best is a weird term, right? We talked about. I mean, how many times we've had this?
All right, how about this? He has records that will never be broken. Some of the most important records in the league. Is that accurate, Mike?
Very true.
He is the most important player of all time. He is the most dominant player of all time.
Yeah.
You can if you want to get in, he's the best passer of all time. He is I don't know, just he.
And just because
champion of all time. I mean, he's not a lot of things that you can say about Gretzky. I mean, we always compare people to Gretzky, and usually people will say something like, "Oh, he passes or skates like Gretzky, or he shoots like Gretzky, or he."
I mean, to be very honest, to answer those people in Boston, the Norris Trophy should be the Bobby Orr Trophy.
No, it should be, no question, and the Hart Trophy should be the Gordie Howe Trophy.
I mean, but it just never got renamed, and I would rename it tomorrow to that.
Yeah, I don't understand, especially now with Gordie. I don't understand with Gordie's passing why this hasn't happened. That the Hart Trophy is named the Gordie Howe.
Especially after writing about Brad Park, as great as Brad Park was, when he finished second, it was always to Bobby Orr. Like that was just the way it was.
I know. All right, let's get going here. Today is the date is
the 9th, Thursday the 9th.
Yeah, thanks, Lord. I'm thrown now, Mike. You've taken the hockey puck as we know it and bent it on its side, like
ooh.
Mind blown.
Is that like when you wave a pencil and it looks like rubber?
I know this puck isn't that cool? It's good for the house. All right. Hello, hockey world. It's Thursday, March 9th, 2017.
I'm Wayne Gretzky hater, Michael Agello.
Yes.
I'm Russ Cohen from Sportsology.
And I'm Eklund, and you're watching the HockeyBuzzcast on HockeyBuzz.com, probably because Wayne Gretzky played the sport. This is the podcast that comes to you every Monday through Friday at this time to fill you in on the comings and goings in the hockey world and try to keep you up to date with all the fun happenings. And only 3 games last night, but 3 kind of entertaining games that went on last night for sure. And I want to just kind of start with the games last night because the game I watched was the Winnipeg Pittsburgh Penguins game, just because it was, obviously you get a lot of star power going in that game, and you had the whole controversy of Blake Wheeler and Evgeny Malkin that led into this game. And I love a good old controversy. I love a good old, what
was the controversy? I was at an event.
You remember, okay, Malkin hit Wheeler with the illegal.
Oh, yeah.
Didn't get a penalty, didn't get a suspension. The next day, Jacob Trouba hit somebody, got suspended.
Yep.
So Malkin, who doesn't really fight all that often, did. Are we ready for this? Okay, so I'm going to have you show you. This is on the Wheeler fight here. Let me see if I can get this going here.
Yeah, Malkin's freakishly strong. I don't want to fight.
Oh my God! Yeah, would you ever want to fight Malkin? You got to be out of your mind.
And if you blinked, you missed the minute and 1 second that Tom Sestito played before he got suspended.
We'll talk about that in a minute.
There was a little bit of that going on. A little bit of talk about that too. Here we go. Blake Wheeler Gretzky fight. I mean Gretzky. Blake Wheeler Malkin fight. Let's try it like this. Here we go. Ready? So yeah, I don't know. Give Gino some credit here. He Wheeler said we're going to go, and Malkin's not a fighter.
No, he's not a fighter.
Ooh,
I would expect Wheeler to win the fight. I knew that would happen, but
yeah,
Malkin is really strong. He just doesn't know how to fight.
Right. No, exactly.
He cuffed.
That's all right, but I mean, I'll still give him credit for actually.
But let's talk about Sestito for a minute, because this is the second time in 2 years Tom Sestito has been brought up to basically act like a thug. And
right out of slap shot, basically. When they bring up those guys for that game in slap shot, right out of slap shot.
Yeah.
Why is he still in the game?
Because there's still a use for that in the game.
They asked Paul Maurice, I guess, after the game about it, and he said, well, I don't think he was brought here to dangle.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, there is still a use for this at times, but I mean,
Toby Enstrom, who's in the
talk about the rivalry that always has existed between the two cities of Winnipeg and Pittsburgh. Okay, it's just like, this is not really this one incident happened, but it's not like we're talking about.
But this is like the biggest guy against the smallest guy. Like, this is the worst possible scenario for thuggery.
Yes, it is. I'm not saying I'm advocating Sestito coming up and targeting Enstrom and nailing him, and I guess he broke bones in his face. Yeah. And I have to say, and I brought this up to Russ earlier in the morning, there are certain things that can be augmented that wouldn't change the game dramatically. And I believe when Chris Draper got slammed by Claude Lemieux into the boards, it was into the dasher board, and this was basically Enstrom turning and getting pushed from behind into the little ledge.
Yeah.
Why doesn't the NHL in their arenas put the glass flush with the dasher board? Because that would prevent these types of injuries.
I like this idea. I do.
Yeah. No, I think so too. I don't know why they don't. I don't know why that's the case either.
No, I'm not saying seamless glass. I'm not saying seamless glass.
Right, the seamless glass didn't work. We remember it caused more concussions. I get that part.
Yeah, it doesn't. It doesn't seem to be structurally, difficult to do, really. And I think it would be safer for the players. I know that that dasher board is part of you've seen it for years and years, but I don't think that would adversely affect the game at all.
No. I don't think so either.
I'll tell you the game I watched when you're done with this one. It was
good. The only other thing I'll throw around about this game is this.
Yes.
Nick Bonino with a hat trick, and I wrote today in my blog about the fact that Nick Bonino is slowly becoming one of the more powerful UFAs this summer. And people are going to laugh.
He already was. I just think he
already was. Yeah, but people are laughing at that, because but Nick Bonino. If you go back, obviously Mike Sullivan, big turnaround with the Penguins last year to get them going, but Bonino also correlated with that. He was also came in at that time, right? And around the same time, if I remember right.
Yeah, was it the David Perron deal?
Right, David Perron deal. And Nick Bonino is what finally got Phil Kessel going. Yeah. Finally got Phil Kessel a place where he could play because Malkin and Crosby weren't good enough for him. And so he found Bonino. And that line continued through the playoffs. And we have another chance here with Bonino's already having a great year. And then you throw on the fact that he's going to have another great run in the playoffs, all most likelihood. By July 1st, time comes around, Nick Bonino is going to be, he could get more than TJ Oshie or.
Well, I don't know about that, but I agree with what you said in your column. He's making $1.9 million right now.
Yeah.
The way he's playing, and I believe, Russ, is he in his late 20s?
I'm looking it up. I think that's what he is in. And
28, 29?
28.
28.
Because he was a great college player, too.
Right. So you're probably talking about him getting a 4 to 5 year deal at about $4.5 to $5 million a year. And what that means, Zach, is that there's no way in hell that Pittsburgh is going to be able to re-sign him.
Right. They can't sign him. I mean, they are really up against it. And this is a big loss for them because this is not the kind of player that they can. I mean, as good as the Penguins are, they've always had this star power. They've had a tough time finding, because it is just hard to find these kind of secondary players.
I mean, heck, it's funny. I think you were there. I know I was there when Boston University won the Frozen Four. It was at the Verizon Center, and Bonino was terrific in that whole series. Like, that was, to me, an eye-opener. If you didn't even know Nick Bonino until then, you realized he could have a real impact on the game. He's not a superstar, but he does the little things. He does the little things offensively, does the little things defensively. He's got just enough size to make himself tough. And, he's the perfect guy to get in free agency. He won't get as much as Oshie, but teams will clamor for him. There's no doubt.
Yeah.
Now, his stats aren't ridiculously great. I mean,
I know.
12 goals and 16 assists, but you cannot ignore his ability to fit in as a third line center.
Doesn't make mistakes. He plays well in big games.
Big goals, like he scores big goals in the playoffs. He's fast. So you're not going to lose any speed with him. He kills penalties.
Yeah. So you're talking about he would be a perfect fit for a team that has some cap room, that has aspirations of jumping to a higher level. I mean, honestly, Russ, Columbus Blue Jackets.
Yeah, Columbus Blue Jackets, Philadelphia Flyers, even the New York Rangers. Big time. The New York Rangers could use a player like that.
I mean, I really think Toronto. I think this is the perfect player for Toronto to go get.
It could be if they don't retain Brian Boyle.
Well, no, but really, they're. And I'm writing something about their center situation right now. But next year, it's the same. It's Matthews, Kadri, Bozak.
Yeah, who is the guy? Who is their Nick Bonino? Like, who's their guy who's going to be able to kill penalties, be able to score big goals, have experience in the playoffs, stuff like that? Who is that guy? Like that's what they don't have.
Right. But
the Edmonton Oilers should, the Oilers, there's teams that should look at this,
Well, I mean, I think Edmonton makes sense. I mean, especially if they trade Nugent Hopkins. If they do that, and then you need some solidification up the middle, then I just don't think Toronto, unless they trade Bozak, and because their organization is thin up the middle, I don't think they're going to trade Bozak until maybe the deadline next year, or not even at all. I can't see Bonino signing in Toronto if he's going to be a fourth line center, maybe moving up to third. I think that they're going to spend their money. The Leafs are going to go big on defense. They're going to try to trade for defense. They may try to sign a free agent on defense. I don't think that they're going to spend big money on wingers or centers, simply because the focus is going to be, they may get role players that Babcock will like to use, and that I see why Bonino would fit in. But I think if there's any talk about Toronto being interested in Bonino, it'll simply be to boost his Credos out there in free agency.
This is totally a Lou Lamoriello player. I mean, he's a Lou Lamoriello player through and through. This is a perfect.
But they won't spend huge money.
They won't spend big money. If
they have money to spend, they might.
But they won't spend it.
No. They have $20 million in cap space, and not too many teams do next year. But the thing is, they're going to have to pay Nylander, Matthews, and Marner, so they're not going to spend all out.
What if you go full tilt, 2-year deal, $6 million a year? I mean, like something like that.
It 2 years.
Not. That's the thing. They're not going to shoot their wad for a quick run in the next.
You don't want a 5-year deal like every other player.
It's not a quick run. It's not like this is not this. You need this kind of thing instilled into your play. Like, you need that.
No, but he's going to get 5 years for like something around $20 million.
Not likelihood, but I'm saying this is the kind of player that they.
I'm just saying this is. I'm saying the Toronto management has the discipline to be methodical in their building of this franchise, and I don't. If you were talking about Dave Nonis or John Ferguson Jr. or maybe even Brian Burke, they would go cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs in the summer and sign, 2-3 free agents and think, oh my God, we're going to make this team is far away from the Stanley Cup contender.
No, I get that, Mike, but here's the thing that people always don't seem to understand about the importance about a guy like Nick Bonino. Is the fact that you can't find many players who come in and will not disturb the natural order of things.
Right.
Like he's a guy who can come in and he's not, if you go out there and put big money into a player like like a big scorer like Radulov or whatever. You bring in a guy who's like that's going to throw. He's going to want more time. He's going to want more of the puck. You have this great thing going with Matthews and Marner. You don't want to screw that up. So
Right.
to bring in, so the Penguins have tried. Like the Penguins would constantly try to bring in the Phil Kessels of the world. Bonino was a more valuable pickup for them than Phil Kessel, which is insane because that was for David Perrin.
Well,
Versus,
I don't know if he was more valuable, but he was valuable.
I think he was. I totally think he was.
I'm not disputing what you're
Kessel had a great playoff. Don't get me
It's a
wrong.
yin and yang thing. You can't one without the other wouldn't have mattered.
But it's hard to find these kind of players, and
It is.
Lou Lamoriello loves these kind of players. This
right,
is
but I'm not
like
disputing.
Brian Giunta type thing. This is like that kind of a player who really can come in and do something.
And I'm not disputing the value of Bonino. I just think that it would not be a good fit in Toronto. I tell you the team that I think would be a good fit with is the Buffalo Sabres. He would be a perfect number 3 center for the Buffalo Sabres.
Well, the question, at $5 million a year, he doesn't be, that's when he starts to not becoming looked at like a number 3 center too. That's the other thing that's going to be the issue here. Like he's going to become a number 2 center.
Right, and then that's why I'm saying it's not a good fit because he would be making more than your number 2 center because Nazem Kadri is making $4.5 million. You can't get away with that. Where the Leafs are going to spend their money is on defense.
All right, let's switch over to the Ottawa-Dallas game because you could clearly see in this game why Ottawa's good and why Dallas is bad.
Yeah, right.
Very, very obvious. Yeah. I do want to say, look, I think Esa Lindell is really doing well, and he was one of my surprise picks back in 2012. And I actually wanted the Rangers to take him instead of Cristobal Nieves, who they took at 59th. If they did, they probably wouldn't have needed Brendan Smith, right? But we're not always right about stuff. But the Dallas Stars were right about him, and he'll be a good defenseman. And Alexiak's playing well. But their defense as a whole is awful. Now, word to anybody in the league, don't fight Jamie Alexiak. It's just he's not called a big rig for nothing. Like seriously, that may be the dumbest thing he just collapsed on a guy. But
don't fight Penny Alexiak either.
No, true. The goaltending in this game was so bad for Dallas. Like, look, Lettinen wasn't completely awful. Anthony Niemi, this 4th goal that he led up to Dion Phaneuf, looked like Tommy Salo in the Olympics. He ducked.
Yeah, I saw that. And it's a shame because, the Dallas Stars had won 5 out of 7, and they came out of the gate like they looked like they were world beaters in the first 5 minutes of that game.
But talk about his body positioning, which was off. He bent. Now, granted, there were 3 guys. There were people in the crease everywhere, right? But that's your job as a goalie is to have an idea where the puck is, and he ducked where the puck went.
Yeah, he was trying to look down to look under the screen, But that's and so I kind of give him a break on that one. But I do agree with you that he wasn't strong and didn't make the key save.
He's the one you have to buy out.
And there were some indications yesterday that I don't know if somebody asked him the question, but there were some indications online that he's preparing for Dallas to buy him out, and he should be because Lettinen's younger, I believe, and maybe by a year. Yeah, I'll check.
And he's got a little bit more meat on the bone. Lettinen has at least had some good starts. Niemi just looks bad. Now, could he be a backup? Sure, but he'll probably go back overseas, to be honest. I could see Niemi doing that. I think he's a
perfect backup in Boston. That's my opinion.
And I think that could work out for him.
Lettinen is 33, and
Niemi might be younger.
Anthony Niemi is
31 would be my guess.
33. They're both the same.
They're both the same. All right.
Huh.
That's a wash.
It took me a while to get over here. Remember, he
did.
Became a star in Finland first.
Yes. But Ottawa, what they do well is they skate well.
Yep.
They possess the puck well. Again, for all the Erik Karlsson haters, he now has the right coach because now they have a bunch of fast guys who you can't get the puck away from. It doesn't matter whether they're strong defensively or not. You just don't have the puck. And then they do strike quickly on offense. They do have a certain amount of toughness in that lineup. Dion Phaneuf looks very good for all the Leafs haters. He's definitely fit in well.
Yeah.
And this is a good team. This is a better team than we give them credit for.
Well, one thing on Dallas, they're going to – I don't know if they're going to take a step back next year, but Jim Nill's going to have his hands full because he's going to lose Patrick Sharp. Guys like Klingberg took a step back. Russ, we've talked about Lindy Ruff. I think Lindy Ruff is a leading candidate to get canned.
I do too.
Because this team is taking a step back. Plus – if you fire Lindy Ruff and you hire almost anybody else, you probably get Nikushkin back from the KHL. but they wasted money on Dan Hamhuis. I think he looks terrible.
Yep.
And they're probably gonna have to buy out one of the goalies, and they're probably praying that Niemi or Lettinen goes over to Europe so they can vacate the contract and get rid of it. But they're gonna be big bidders for guys like Ben Bishop probably, or maybe try to trade for Marc-Andre Fleury. But the problem there is that there's not a lot from line 2 down on that team. You got young guys like Faxa and Devon Shore, Roussel, but there's not a lot of there, and that's where that team needs to improve. And we'll see in the next year or so whether some of their players come up from Texas and kids that they've drafted.
The thing is, their offense is still good, right?
Yeah,
but their defense and goaltending undermine everything their offense does.
Yeah, and regarding Ottawa, Dion Phaneuf is a perfect fit on a number 2 pair. The problem in Toronto was the management traded for him, gave him the captaincy, and said, "You're our number 1 defenseman," and never thought to realize he's not a number 1 defenseman.
Correct.
So they're paying him $7 million, and they had to eat $9.5 million in a trade and bury players like Mahalik and Colin Greening in the AHL just to get rid of Dion Phaneuf's contract, because he would have eaten up $7 million over the next 4 years. He's a good number 3, number 4 defenseman. He's just not a number 1.
Right.
That's the problem.
I'm with you. And then the other game too last night that was really showed that Detroit is just spent.
They're beyond spent.
They really have. I mean, this is it sucks for them because this is the final couple games at the Joe Louis Arena. They're going to have to, and they're selling them all out. I've heard it's not a big deal. They're going to sell them obviously, but you'd like to see them get a win. They end with.
I'll tell you how this is going to play out for Detroit fans. I was at the last couple of games at Shea Stadium. The Mets weren't a great team then either. They lost that last game. We were like, they lost because the ceremony was so great. We dealt with it. That's probably what's going to happen with the Wings too.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be tough. They end with Montreal and New Jersey. I mean, it sucks that they don't just end with Montreal. I mean, they should have ended this with. You should have figured.
Well, with New Jersey, they will have a chance to win if that's at home.
Well, here's the question I have, because watching that team, and I think it's a little bit of a statement right now that the Leafs held on to beat Detroit 3-2 2 nights ago, and Detroit gives up 4 goals in the first period and loses, I think it was 6-1 to Boston. So maybe shows
matchups. It's matchups.
And it's fatigue, second game and back to back. But Henrik Zetterberg still has something left. And this team is going into what I think is going to be not a lengthy, but a significant rebuild. I don't think they're going to be able to reset and make this team competitive in a year or 2. I think they're going to have to strip it down and do what Toronto and Edmonton did. And I think that maybe the will is there, although ideally they wouldn't want to do that with a new building. But Zetterberg is 36 years old and can still play. Does he say, okay, I want to go someplace else, or does he ride it out the last couple years of his career?
Or he pulls a Datsuk and just goes away.
Goes to the Swedish League? Yeah, maybe that's possible.
It's possible. I tend to think that they don't have to tear it all the way down. As bad as they look right now.
I don't know about that one.
We'll see. I think that they've got some players coming in that they have done a good job at. They've taken their time with a lot of these.
They've got a couple good youngsters. Svechnikov, I think, is going to be a good NHL player. We know that Mantha is starting to come in. Larkin has taken a step back, but there's
a great second-year thing. It could be,
Yeah, but here's
what they're the equivalent of. They're the equivalent of that old stadium. Like, I'm going to use Vet Stadium as an example, where they keep putting that new coat of paint on it, but it's a really old stadium. And I walked into Vet Stadium. I covered some games in that last year, and I was there the second game, not the first game, the second game there, and I got red paint on my pants. And and I'm telling you, this is what the Red Wings are. If you keep putting a new coat of paint and saying, hey, we just did a retool, it's not going to look good.
Larkin and Mantha have the ability to grow and be better players, but guys that they thought were going to stem the tide and carry on the tradition of Datsuk and Zetterberg, like Nyquist and Tatar, they're okay players. They may be even good players, but they're not franchise cornerstones. That's the problem. The only way you get those guys is that you get bad for a year or 2, you draft them, and you build around them. And I think that's what they're going to have to do. They may not want to do it, but they may have to do it.
Possible. It's possible. Before we get into tonight's games, I wanted to go to, there's our buddy Rob Volman, who has been on the show before, writes really good stuff. has a great book out there. Has a really interesting story on NHL.com and behind the numbers section today. I don't know if you guys saw it or not.
No.
So I wanted to kind of test. He says the stats reveal NHL's all underrated teams. He has two defensemen, 3 forwards, and a goalie. And I wanted to see if what you guys thought of this. I thought this is really well done. And I don't have you guess because obviously there's so
no. With the you know how we do with the guessing. It's going to be awful.
The first guy is a Coyote and was a member of Team Europe. I'll give you that much. How about that?
Hansel.
Nope.
Yeah, I don't want to guess. I'm not guessing.
A Coyote. His name's Tobias.
Tobias Reeder.
Tobias Reeder. Yeah.
I'm tired of guessing.
Left wing Tobias Reeder from the Coyotes. And, I agree with this one a lot because first of all, I was impressed with Reeder at the World Cup more than he showed up more than I don't see Arizona play all that often, so I didn't really know much about him. But he looks really good, and he apparently is incredible defensively as well. And he says, according to this, like his ability to play against Joe Thornton has become kind of legendary. That he shuts down Joe Thornton like almost no one else. So that's pretty interesting.
I mean, no offense to Chris Therien, he used to shut down Yager. That doesn't make Chris Therien great.
Yeah, and it would be nice. It would be nice if it mattered, since Arizona, they shut down Joe Thornton. But if Arizona's losing the game or losing all their games or most of their games, it doesn't really matter.
Well, the shot attempts when he's on the ice against the Coyotes drop from I don't know, you guys understand this better than I do. Against all competition, the opposing team's share of shot attempts against the Coyotes drop from 53.6 to 51.2 when Ryder is on the ice. When Reeder's
I mean, that's a good stat. I mean, I think he is good. I'm okay with him on the list.
Despite the fact he's usually up against the top lines of other teams.
When they try and sell the team or the public on the fact that he's their next Oliver Ekman-Larsson and that's why they had to trade him, then that'll be the way they go.
There you go.
Well, he's a left wing too, so it's a little different, right?
I'm kidding.
I'm with you. So the center comes from the Calgary Flames. Mikhail Backlund.
Yeah.
Michael Backlund. Yeah, he's really good. Michael Backlund's finally come through. He was a first rounder. He I think people held that over his head that he was a first rounder, but he's been developing for a couple of years. I like the selection of Michael Backlund there.
He's also another guy who plays on kind of a defensive role at times too.
Used to. Now he plays a lot more offensively.
Yeah. And he's played the line that's been working for them has been Matthew Tkachuk and Frolik with Backlund. It's been probably their most consistent line all year. And in talking with our buddy Sean Veterak, he was telling me that the concern in Calgary is the fact Backlund is a UFA after next year. He's only making $3.5 million, and the way he's playing lately, he could break the bank. And they probably can't afford to sign him after paying Monahan, Goudreau, and the defensemen that they have to bid.
Yeah, that's a good point. The right wing comes from the Anaheim Ducks, was traded from the Ottawa Senators.
Silfverberg.
Yep, Jacob Silfverberg.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And he has actually been a big part of the shootout for the Ducks this year.
Yeah,
as we all know. And he's actually is 50, so a career 54.3 shooting percentage. Yeah. Ties him with TJ Oshie for second in the league among active players. Can you name the top shootout player in the NHL?
This year?
Yeah.
I'm going to go Matt Zuccarello.
No, but you're on the right team.
Yeah, so if it's not Zuccarello, then
Kreider?
No, it's not Kreider. No.
This guy's 10 of 18 it's 55.6%.
Could be Tanner Glass.
It's not Tanner Glass. Stop. now you're fouling up my head.
Olli Jokinen? Okay.
Just not Olli Jokinen.
Too soon?
I know who it is too soon. I know who it is. Go ahead. Just do it.
Brandon Peary.
That's right. He is a shark at that. He is.
10 for 18, 55.6%.
Silfverberg is interesting in the and we're going to talk about Russ and I wanted to bring up the expansion thing. Yeah. The Silfverberg is one of these guys that with Anaheim having so many defensemen, they have to protect. They can three. He could be exposed if they can't get Kevin Bieksa to waive his no move clause. He could get exposed, and I think would probably get picked up by Vegas unless they gave Vegas something to pass over him. Yeah. That's going to be one of the interesting things with Anaheim because they have a lot of their young defensemen are exempt, but Manson and then the three big defensemen, Vatanen, Fowler, Lindholm, all have to be protected. they can't protect 5 defensemen, so they either going to have to trade Manson and get Bieksa to waive his no move to protect Silfverberg. Otherwise, they expose themselves.
Right. Yeah, here's the thing. We
By the way, real quickly, Russ, sorry to interrupt. The NHL did announce today they're going to televise the expansion draft, which will be so it's on the 21st.
Okay. They're going to televise the expansion.
Hang on, we'll get to that in a minute.
5 p.m. 5 p.m. on the 21st. I'm sure.
What I was going to say is
something big with Hockey Buzz at that point. So
we do a Friday night podcast, Mike and I and Anthony Mingione, and we had Julie Stewart-Binks on. And if you want to really find out his Silfverberg's worth, go find that on Blog Talk off the post. She really, she covers the team every day. She does all the on ice reporting, and so she really was able to point out his worth to us. So this is not surprising to us because we've seen this coming from him, and it's great. I like the guy. That's
awesome. Defense is first. Defenseman for him. 1 Islander, 1 Hurricane.
Letty?
Nope. The Islander.
They're going to say Seidenberg, aren't they?
Nope. No, the Islander, Calvin DeHaan.
Okay. I mean, in what way? Tell me how he describes.
During the past 4 seasons, DeHaan's most frequent opponents, 5-on-5, have been Crosby, Yager, Kunitz, Backstrom, Ovechkin. With DeHaan having to face those players so much, his offensive numbers would likely seem to suffer. Instead, he's bolstered the Islanders' share of shot attempts from 49 to 51, plus 11 during the past, and is a plus 11, which is pretty impressive. During the past 2 seasons, his 356 block shots ranked 3rd in the NHL behind Francois Beauchemin and Chris Russell of Edmonton. So that's basically a shot blocker.
You know what? I could buy it. DeHaan's, been really good for 2 or 3 years now. He's definitely not the defenseman they thought they drafted because they thought they got an offensive guy that would help with Tavares like he was when they played in juniors. But he has really turned into this really solid defenseman. I have no problem with it.
And the final guy on defense is Jacob Slavin from the Carolina Hurricanes.
Yeah, Slavin's good.
And he's one of the many young defensemen they have. I mean, you think of Falk and you think of Hannafin, but this is a pretty impressive threesome. And even Brett, Brett Pesce is it called? Brett?
Yeah, Pesce, yeah.
That's
there's a lot of guys we could slot in though. There's a lot.
Yeah.
Is there a goalie or no?
What was that? There's a goalie too, and the goalie is this is not hard to guess though. This would be Corey Schneider.
Yeah, I mean that's
of the Devils.
Although I don't think Schneider's underrated anymore, so I would argue that.
Yeah,
I think he's overworked because
right. But we all know Corey Schneider. We all know he's a Vezina candidate. He's no longer underrated.
Right.
He's undermanned on the team he's on. I would go more John Gibson. Don't think he's getting the credit that he deserves this year.
Right. I actually think Matt Murray is underrated to a degree, but I know it's hard. It might sound.
Yes, his play really has been up and down lately.
Yeah, I think Matt Murray is.
He's a terrific goalie, but he is
Carey Price in the NHL. And I think that's the.
No, that's not.
I do. I think he's that good.
No, Devin Dubnyk is so much better right now than Matt Murray.
No, right now, yeah, but I think Matt Murray's younger. I think Matt Murray is going to be the guy.
Potentially, sure.
Potentially, yes.
That's why I say I think he's the next Carey Price. I think that's where he's going.
I don't know if he'll be the next Carey Price either. I think that's a lot.
Dominates the NHL and dominates on this Team Canada's goalie for years to come. I really think that'll be him.
It's possible.
But so anyway, let's get into I know you guys want to talk expansion draft, so go ahead.
Right.
Oh no, yeah, I do. I mean, it's ironic that this comes out that they're going to televise the expansion draft, but yet they're not going to give us the list of the protected players for the expansion draft.
Yeah, that is really insane.
It's not insane for me. I mean,
no, I get why they're doing it. All right, I understand why they're doing it.
Players and families are affected.
Right.
Why in the world do we really need to know that minute when these people are sitting on pins and needles? And I know what people are watching are thinking, well, they should be big boys and they're millionaires and whatever. They're still little kids. They're still kids in school. They'd like their dad to be home. A lot of things go into this, and I'm on the players' side of this. I'm okay if we never know. But it'll get leaked, so I'm not.
The players will know. No,
the players will know. I mean,
no, players will know, but the public doesn't need to know.
They want to keep it. Do they want to? I mean, do they? I guess.
Well, okay, like in a situation like this, there's talk right now because anybody who looks at, say, the Ottawa Senators, for example, that right now the speculation, if you take no move clauses into effect and everything else, that the defenseman that will be exposed will be Mark Mathot. They're not going to expose Carlson, obviously. They're not going to expose a young defenseman like Cody Ceci, and Dion Phaneuf has a no move clause. So Mathot is the odd man out. But Mathot is the defensive partner of Carlson. And nobody thinks that they will pick up, meaning Vegas, pick up Dion Phaneuf with a $7 million a year contract. So the speculation is that the Senators will approach Phaneuf during the offseason and say, we want to have you waive the no-move clause. We want to keep you. We don't think Vegas is going to take you, but we want to expose you so we can keep our defense together. If he knows about it, there's no big deal. What's the big deal?
Yeah.
There is a big deal. Again, there's families involved. Like, I'll give you an example. You could have a goalie who is not very well positioned financially in this league, maybe 1 year pro, maybe still on his entry level. And I know people are like, well, that's a lot more than I make. Yeah. But they spend a lot of money on traveling and other things. They're not as rich as you think. And let's say that guy goes from, I don't know, New Jersey to San Jose. Well, it can't be San Jose, but Vegas, let's just say Vegas takes him and he's going from a place that's even cheaper to live than Vegas. So then all of a sudden it's costing him more to live. It could affect a lot of things. Maybe he just closed on a house. Now all of a sudden he's got to get a different house because he didn't know he was going to be left unprotected, and then he got taken by Vegas. Like, there's a lot of factors that come into this that you don't realize. And I know people think Vegas is pretty cheap, but there's probably cheaper places in the country. I just don't know them. So that's why I stumbled on that. But you get the idea. I mean, it could really affect a person. And there are people that literally do just get houses or just get settled into an area, and then something like this happens. We don't need to know about that. We don't. We can find out after.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. I mean, I see both sides of this, but I do think it'll get out. I think it will leak out.
Sure, it will. But, like, why does the league need to be transparent on everything?
Haven't they told us their protective lists in the past?
Yes.
I don't know. For Nashville, I'm not sure they did.
I'm pretty sure they did.
I think they did, because I remember like.
Well, what's the difference? What's the difference now between that time period?
Well, it's obvious, right? I mean, it's obvious. The difference now between that time period and this time period is the internet, and the fact that
No,
I think it is, with the people debating things on Twitter.
No, it's Donald Fear is in charge of the NHLPA. That is the difference. Trust me.
Is Donald Fear saying that they're not going to do it?
I think he didn't. I think if you asked him, would you like to do it? I think his answer would be no.
Right. Now, the timing is curious here, because the draft is the 23rd of June. Expansion draft is on the 21st. So you're gonna have the NHL awards in Vegas on that Monday or Tuesday.
Yep.
You have the expansion draft on Wednesday, and then everybody's going to Chicago on Thursday and Friday. So it's going to be a pretty packed week there.
It's a whirlwind.
I know. It's gonna be.
We'll do a show on it, but like I said, there's going to be guys you're going to feel bad about when they get taken. But I will tell you something idiotic that I read today. Larry Brooks in the New York Post suggested that the Rangers should give McPhee a second-round pick to not take Antti Raanta. And my feeling is, and I brought this up a week ago, Ranger fans are worried they'll lose that second-round pick because now they only have one for next year. And already Larry Brooks has given it away. Like, if Larry Brooks were the GM of the team, that second-round pick is gone. You have Benoit Allaire, who's one of the best goalie coaches in hockey, if not the best, for a reason. He's made Steven Valiquette look very good. He's made other goalies look very good. There's going to be a ton of goalies out there. Why in the world am I giving a second-round pick to retain him? As good as he is, I'm not doing it.
And here's the thing that people have to realize about Vegas is the fact that, I'm sure there are going to be deals that George McPhee makes where he's going to take a player that maybe doesn't want to or is acceptable, and he'll get a draft pick. But they don't want, like, 20 draft picks. They want bodies. So, for example, if the Maple Leafs, right now, they would have to expose, the speculation is that they picked up Eric Fair from Pittsburgh to expose to Vegas because he was a former first-round draft pick of George McPhee. More than likely, if they do that and he picks him up, they're going to get somebody else, and it's not going to be a draft pick. It's probably going to be a young player who might not play for the Leafs, like a Josh Levo or a Brendan Leipzig or somebody like that. So Vegas is gonna have to fill 50 pro contracts. They're gonna have to build an organization in the NHL and the AHL. So they're gonna need body.
True. It's a really good point. I mean, caught me in a drink there. Sorry. Yeah.
I mean, it could be like the 76ers, who have something like 20 second-round picks in the NBA, and second-round picks are meaningless. Like, how many fifth, sixth, and seventh-round picks does George McPhee really want?
Yeah, no, you're right. He's gonna have to create a good AHL situation. I mean, I often wonder why there isn't an AHL team the year before an expansion team enters the NHL. Like, why you can't put an AHL team together? And I know you can't. I know you. Those players have to.
Well, you could, I guess, if you were choosing unsigned players.
Yeah.
Or you would have to sign all of them to AHL contracts, but because an NHL contract is a two-way. One
Right, it would have to be different, or just some way where the NHL should allow them to,
Well, I think that's why what's behind the that window that Vegas would get in terms of RFA and UFA. They're going to get the jump on teams so they can fill that organization with players.
Yeah, and they will. And when you look at the UFA list, a lot of those guys are going to be going to Vegas. It's not going to be, I mean, that UFA.
Let me ask you this question, because this is the one position that an expansion team generally does well in is goaltending. And I go back to Nashville because they got Vokun and Dunham in there.
Yeah.
Will Vegas do better than that? That's my question.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think
they're going to do better than that in that position. Now, for the rest of them, like defensemen, it's going to be slim pickings because there's going to be so much shenanigans going on with trades and other things that I don't think they're going to get as good a defense as they'd like. But I think goaltending-wise, they're going to be in pretty good shape.
Yeah.
Now, the question is, will they do what other teams have done in expansion? I mean, remember the whole Van Beesbrook thing. But will they take goaltenders to flip them to other teams like Marc-Andre?
Yeah, they'll take 3, right? They're allowed 3?
I think they're allowed more than that.
Are they?
I think they're allowed 4.
Then they'll probably take 4, yeah. So they can flip them.
Right.
Yeah, they can. All right, before we get out of here today, tonight we've got 10 games on tap. And it's funny because as many games as you can imagine, 10 games, you would think there would be a lot more playoff implications than you see in these 10 games. But there are a couple. I mean, because you have a lot of teams playing like Chicago, Anaheim, Ottawa, Arizona, Montreal, Calgary. These are teams, the Rangers in Carolina, Nashville and LA. But you do have Toronto and Philadelphia, which is a biggie. That's probably the game of the night tonight.
Now, can I bring up the fact that Neuwirth is getting the start tonight, and I know that there were some people who were a little taken aback by that, and I'm like, first of all, Steve Mason, in my memory, and maybe his career stats are better than I would expect.
He doesn't play well against Toronto.
Never played well against Toronto. He's from the Toronto area, I believe. He's never played well against them, and I'm not surprised that they're going with Neuwirth.
No, some are, and I'm not surprised either. But some are. But again, what made me laugh about the midday show is they're as confused as anybody as to who might be in goal for Flyers on any given night.
Oh, there's no real rhyme or reason right now.
It is hard to figure out.
It is. I mean, I guess I think this is the fact of that they're going to give. I think you're right. I think they're just going on a hunch that Steve Mason lost a couple big games for the Flyers last year against Toronto. Down the stretch. And that could be it. Although he's playing so well right now, it would be hard to imagine that they would not play him in a game as big as this, because this is an enormous game for the Flyers. So I don't know.
And for Toronto as well. And
this is the game of the night as far as playoff implications go.
Yes,
for sure. I mean, there is a really good game tonight. You do have the Capitals and the Sharks playing, and that's the serious. That could be a serious Stanley Cup preview.
And the Habs and the red hot Calgary Flames is another game.
True as well. So, I mean, but you have this is the kind of game where, Leafs and Flyers both at 65 games played. Toronto's up by 2 points on them. Regulation wins. Toronto's losing.
They're going to give the Flyers fits. They will.
Yeah, they are. They tend to play the Flyers very, very well. Even when they were not a good team in the last few years, they played the Flyers tough.
Yeah, but one note on this game, though, Tyler Bozak missed the morning skate, may not play. It's a game time decision. The last time that was the case was was late last month when I was covering the Leaf game up there, and he didn't play because of an infection on his hand. Maybe that's what has come back. But if that happens, that just exposes the Leafs up the middle even more. You've got Kadri, you've got a great young player in Matthews, but then that moves Brian Boyle and inserts Eric Fair in the lineup. Not exactly a strong area for the Leafs.
Hey, for something that we never talked about, right now the Mets are playing the Tigers, and the Tigers have a nice patch on their right arm that says Mr. I for Mike Ilitch.
Oh, that's cool.
I think the Red Wings have something as well.
They do.
I haven't noticed because I haven't watched the Red Wings since it happened, but I just happened to be watching the Tigers, and so that's kind of nice. It's a really respectful way to do things, and
that's really he's such a beloved character there.
Makes you feel good.
Oh, for sure. So for sure. Like I said, Ottawa's win last night, big in terms of also.
It's a big win. It kind of shows everybody that
you
could say what you want about the Senators, but right now they have the mojo.
And this win projects them to beat out the Montreal Canadiens in my thing. So I don't know, for what it's worth, they're still 4 points back. They still have 3 games in hand, I think, or 2 games in hand, or whatever it is. But they have this schedule tonight. Tonight, they play the Coyotes, where the Canadians play the Flames. I mean, you're talking about, so it gets tighter still, right? And it's going to get closer still. So the one game I would look at tonight I think it's going to be fascinating to watch, is going to be the Wild and the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Yeah.
Because this is, the Wild, they're coming off of a loss to the Blues. The Wild haven't lost twice in a row very often this year. The Lightning are coming off that tough loss to the Rangers, right?
Yeah.
And this is not, but the Lightning are 6-2-2 in their last 10. Quietly, they're really pushing. They've got the best record. When you look at the teams out of the playoffs right now in the East, they've got the best record of all of them.
And Stamkos, I think I saw this morning that Stamkos practiced. I mean, they're vaulting up. Yeah. He's starting to show more and more and getting more and more involved in practices, which to me, he's pushing the envelope, because they said it was a 4 to 6 month injury, and it's like 4 months right now. But we've talked about the recuperative of Steven Stamkos. I would bet that he gets in.
Now Tampa gets no favors tonight with Dubnyk in there. That's the problem.
Yeah, no, Tampa gets no favors. I think though that this is going to be the kind of team that Minnesota doesn't love to play against. So this is going to be an interesting one as far as it goes. I put my predictions up for tonight. I was 2-1, or our computers were projected 2-1 last night. So we're still rocking the over 750 win percentage at this point. So check it out on HockeyBuzz. You can see it there. And we'll be back again tomorrow with all the.
Don't forget.
Oh my gosh, I almost forgot. Sorry.
No, you're not sorry. We're believing this is now a conspiracy.
I don't want to do this? No, that's not true. All right, here we go. The NHL Lottery Simulator. All right. Here we go. The winner is the Detroit Red Wings. All right. Followed by the Arizona Coyotes and the Colorado Avalanche. So we've had 3 different winners so far in this, right?
So here's a funny thing. So the Avalanche in the 3rd spot could get Liljegren, which is somebody they desperately would need. I could honestly tell you, if someone asked me who I thought the Coyotes would take, I would have no idea what to tell them.
I think they take Ishier. They need offense.
I don't know. I don't know what they'll do.
Although
this is what the by the way, this is what the Golden Knights want to happen, because this puts the Golden Knights in the 4th spot. So obviously that they will not pick, because they've usually been in the 6th spot here. So
right.
Well, I guess the way it goes is they're going to pick. they're basically slotting between the 2nd and 3rd worst teams. So
and we won't talk about it now, but the next name regarding the Coyotes diaspora is Oliver Ekman-Larsson. It's like, how long? He's got 2 years left in his contract. How long is it before we start to hear the Oliver Ekman-Larsson trade rumor?
Well, and you know what? And that may be a reason for them to take Liljegren, so they have a backup plan.
Right.
I guess anything's possible.
Yep.
But yeah, so that's I guess I'm gonna stop my screen sharing. I don't know why I can't stop it, but I'm gonna just say for now I cannot turn off this screen sharing. we'll do it from there. Try to see if that works.
Hey, there you go.
All right.
Back.
So we'll be back again tomorrow. Enjoy the games tonight. Tons and tons and tons of interesting games tonight. Remember, without the buzz, it's just hockey. We will talk to you tomorrow.